that we are now going live on YouTube. Good afternoon, and welcome to this Wednesday's Measure 110 Oversight and Accountability Council meeting. I am Kristen Donhefner, and I am the Measure 110 Engagement and Strategy Manager with the Oregon Health Authority, and I will be assisting with facilitating today's meeting. The Oversight and Accountability Council welcomes and encourages community input. Members of the public are invited to submit public comments or get on our interested parties email list by emailing oha.measure110@dhsoha.state.or.us. That email address and more information about the council can be found on the Measure 110 OAC website. OAC members have asked that OHA and other staff who are present in the meeting space introduce themselves in the chat. Please share your role with the agency, and if you are a subject matter expert, your area of expertise. And with that, I will turn it over to Blue Valentine.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. So we've got a pretty full agenda today with a vote that's going to happen right towards the beginning. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sydney to take attendance.
Hey, everybody. When I say your name, if you could please say here, we'd appreciate it. Amy.
I'm here.
Hi, Amy. Blue.
Here.
Hi, Blue. Carlos.
Here.
Hello, Carlos. Caroline.
Here.
Hi, Caroline. Dharma. I think I saw Dharma yet. I'll come back and see if she's arrived. Henry.
Here.
Hi, Henry. Hubert. I don't think I saw Hubert yet. I'll come back to Hubert. Jackie.
Here.
Hi, Jackie. Keisha.
Here.
Hi, Keisha. Leticia. Not sure. I don't think I saw Leticia yet either. Melinda. I know Melinda was going to be late. Come back to Melinda and Leticia. Morgan.
Here.
Hi, Morgan. Nicole.
I'm here.
Hi, Nicole. Onisha. Onisha, you here?
Here, can you hear my audio?
Yep, I hear you now. Thank you. All right, and Ron.
Ron's here.
Hi, Ron. Sabrina.
I'm here.
Oh, there's Sabrina. Hi, Sabrina. Zeb.
I'm here.
Hi, Zeb. And Tori.
Here.
Hi, Tori. And Bessie.
Here.
Hi, Bessie. I'm just going to go back and see if anyone else has joined us. Dharma, are you here? I don't see Dharma yet. Hubert, are you here? I don't see Hubert yet. Leticia? I don't see Leticia either. And I know Melinda will be late, but one more time, is Melinda here? Not yet. All right, we're at 17 with our 2 non-voting members. Back to you guys.
Perfect. Thank you, Sydney. So on today's agenda, there will be an OAC member statement and then a discussion around burn partner revisions and subcontracts. And that has a vote attached to it. And then we're going to have a legislative update from government relations, a presentation from the Harm Reduction Clearinghouse, Tri-Chair self-nominations, and OHA updates. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carlos, who would like to make a statement.
So there's something that I learned in step 10 is that when I was wrong, that I needed to properly admit it. So when we were doing the vote last week or a couple of weeks ago, when I made my vote, I realized that I did not disclose that I do. I mentor one of the houses for Transcending Hope in Tigard, Washington County. And, you know, I want to apologize for that. I think so. When I first started working for them or doing the house managing, I started to say it in one of the meetings, and then, you know, I was told to like call, and in the middle of my schedule, I forgot. And so I want to apologize that I didn't say that, and I didn't, what do they call it when you skip the voting part? I'm really deeply sorry for making that error and not acknowledging sooner. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. And we have made notes just to be sure that we are calling for conflicts at every vote so that folks do have an opportunity to abstain.
Yeah. I did contact the ethics right after that meeting, and I emailed Tiana and the other folks that I can't remember their names right now because I'm nervous. And so I followed up with what I should be doing. And I want to cry, but we're in public, so thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. So that was great. And I appreciate you trying to be as transparent as possible on that. Did OHA have anything to add around that? I think there was some discussion yesterday, just that the vote would not have changed the outcome of it if Carlos had abstained. I don't know if there's anything else to add to that.
Yeah, I think we want to just thank you, Carlos, for your transparency and for that statement. And note for the record that even if you had abstained, the vote would not have changed. And this was, as a reminder for folks, just the vote to approve a subcontract between the Fourth Dimension and Transcending Hope in Marion County. So appreciate your statement and our apologies for not making space for conflicts of interest for that vote. We will not let that happen again so that there is that space for anyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you both, Kristen and Carlos. I just really appreciate how transparent you are trying to be, Carlos. It's much appreciated. So with that, we're going to shift gears and I'm going to hand it back to, I believe, is it Kristen who's going to do Marion County's burn partner revision?
Yeah, thank you, Blue. Carly, can you pull up the slides, please? I am going to give this short presentation so folks know what the request is. We're also joined by representatives from Marion County here today, so they can answer any specific questions that come up. So this is another subcontract request for Marion County Health and Human Services. Next slide. As a reminder, this is the grant language that is in everyone's grant agreements. Recipients of the grants cannot enter into subcontracts for any part of the program without the OAC's prior consent. And further, the subcontractors are held to the same accountability standards that the original grant recipients are. So they will still be, any subcontractee would still be required to report data, follow policies and procedures, and follow the same standards that the grant recipient are held to. Next slide. So Marion County Health and Human Services received approval from the OAC to fund community-based organizations throughout the county to ensure equity of access to SUD treatment. So I think this was meant to better serve priority populations, and their budget included a little over $1 million for this program. So the OAC, you all kind of already approved that funding dedicated to dispersed to community-based organizations. So today we're just reviewing which CBOs that Marion County has selected to subcontract with. Next slide. So I believe there are 5 or 6 separate subcontracts that we're going to go through today. The first one is with Santiam Hospital, which would assign them 2 FTEs to provide peer support, transportation, and referrals to SUD treatment services, particularly for individuals living in the Santiam Canyon and rural areas of eastern Marion County. There is also a request to fund PODER to conduct outreach to the Latinx community, as well as connect individuals to culturally and linguistically specific SUD treatment services in the county. There's another organization named Catholic Community Services that would hire 2 FTE bilingual community health workers to increase outreach to non-English speaking communities and make referrals to SUD treatment services. This organization would emphasize outreach to the Pacific Islander community, rural communities, and pregnant people with an SUD history. Next slide. The 4th subcontract request would hire 0.9 FTE to be co-located at some Salem Kaiser area recovery homes, and that person would conduct outreach and connection to SUD treatment services. This organization would emphasize working with families with the goal of family reunification. And finally, the 5th subcontract request is with the Church of the Park, who would hire 3 FTE peer support specialists to assist clients in engaging and connecting to SUD treatment services, and they would emphasize outreach to unhoused individuals. I want to pause for questions before we move on to calling conflicts of interest and a motion. Yes, Blue.
I think Sabrina was
Oh,
first.
sorry, I can't see. I can't see.
It's okay, and I
hands,
wasn't
so.
sure which one of us should. But yeah, so go ahead, Sabrina.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was stated, was it always part of the plan to subcontract to this magnitude during negotiation and or before the money was awarded?
Yes, it was written into our original contract that we would be writing the subgrants out to these areas with the populations that are just harder to reach and that we're not already serving.
Thank you.
I think I'm next, and then Ron. I was wondering if we could just bring that slide up that had the matrix on it with the funding categories. I don't know what it's officially called. But I had a question and I'm not, yeah, thank you, Carly. Okay, perfect. What I am not seeing in any of those subcontracts is actual substance use disorder treatment. I saw a lot of outreach and their peer support. And I didn't see a component for actually treatment. I just saw pathways for referrals. So is Marion County still providing substance use disorder treatment themselves?
Yeah, none of our subcontractors will be providing the treatment or supplementing the services that we provide outside of peer services. So it is peer service and outreach dedication on all of those contracts. We will be internally providing screenings, interventions, substance use treatment, medicated assistant. And we also do have the supported employment piece of it. And so we also are hiring for supported employment specialists. So all of those things we are doing in-house, and that is just all of our subcontractors are intended to reach out to those portions of the community that are not already being served within the burn that we're currently partnered with. It tends to focus on central, Salem, Marion County, Salem being the center of Marion County. The resources are all networked right here. And we have a large population in Woodburn that hits our Latinx community. And then we have a lot of rural areas, especially up in the Santiam Canyon, that there's not services out in those areas. So it's really important that we have those contracts to the agencies that already work with those communities so that we can get them into services. And with that, we have a wellness van. We go out to the canyon. So we are there to provide the services too. The subcontracts are to work with the people who are already working within these communities.
And I do want to acknowledge just that there is a typo. That box for supported employment should be checked on the Marion County line. That is my mistake. I'm sorry.
So I just had one follow-up, and we can take, I'm okay taking that matrix down. I just wanted to see what categories there were. So I was doing some quick math, and it looked like at least close to $750,000 was going to peer support and outreach. Do you have any idea what is how much of that over $1 million is actually going towards substance use disorder treatment?
As far as the contracts with the subcontractors, they don't provide substance use disorder treatment. None of those agencies are set up to provide substance use disorder treatment. They will help to ensure that people can get substance use disorder treatment. I'm sorry, I should turn my camera on. As we have people out in the community that aren't even able to access services, getting them into those services is a big barrier. So none of these agencies would directly provide substance use disorder treatment. They're all there to provide peer support, to have CHWs, and to pull people into substance use disorder treatment. It's all part of that wraparound care, but they are not direct service providers for treatment itself.
And I think maybe it would help, Leanna, if you could just confirm that the rest of your Marion County budget, because this is a small fraction of it, is going to treatment services. I think that maybe is why
we have a large portion of our budget that is going towards treatment services. Our overall budget is over $6 million, and this $1 million was set aside to, to get those portions of the community, the underserved populations, into the treatment services. But we have much larger portions that are going towards treatment services themselves, and that are going towards all of the screenings and all of the things that involve that wraparound care. And outside, we're providing all of the services besides harm reduction and housing. So we really have a large portion of our budget that's budgeted towards that actual treatment and that wraparound care. And that budget will pertain to the people in the outlying areas and the underserved populations. However, this portion of the budget is designed to make sure that we're serving our entire community.
Thank you. I had thought that 1 million something was the entire budget. So I was like, that's like pennies for, okay. So thank you so much. That's clear. So Ron is next, and then I have Henry, Onisha, and Keisha with their hands up also. Go ahead, Ron.
All right. Hi, Leanna. Thank you for being here today. Thanks for this presentation, Kristen. Just a couple points that I'm curious about, and this may be a Kristen, Jessica question. I think this would be the first time that we're entertaining providing funding to an organization that was not previously approved by the council during the award process. Is that correct?
That would be correct. Yes.
Okay, so this is a step further than we've gone before. So I wanted to make that clear. Second, just in terms of the relationship between the subcontractors and the burn itself. So are the subcontractors responsible for adhering to all of the policies and procedures that the council has initiated, or in terms of, are they responsible for their own individual reporting, financial reporting, compliance reporting, and data reporting? And are they required to sign the MOU that was that's required for the burns? And just in terms, and just circling back to the initial presentation, I think it's wonderful that the Latinx community, the rural community, the Asian Pacific Island community are included in the outreach. I think that's fantastic. I'm just curious as to whether there was an attempt or an effort on the part of Marion County to do outreach to the African American community or other culturally specific communities, tribal communities, Native communities. If you could take that in any order you like.
Okay.
And I have a follow-up also.
Okay, so I'll start with the first part of your question. The subcontractors would be required to follow the policies of the burn contract. It's written within the contracts, in the subcontracts, and all of the data requirement is the identical data requirements that are required for us through the burn. They are not part of our MOU with the other burn partners. They're a separate contract, and the way that we have it now is they would not send their data directly to you, but they would send their data directly to us, and we would report on that as part of our burn contract. And so that is the way that is designed. As far as outreach to the different communities, we had put out our subgrant proposal for people to give us their subgrant proposals. We tried to reach out to as many portions of the community that we could. We do realize that as far as the African American community, the LGBTQ community, and the Native community, as well as some other more, smaller communities, that there are larger populations and that there's still work to be done, and that there is still, a need to approach those communities. So we worked with the contract requests that we got, and these were the ones that best suited our community, and that we were able to award. But we do realize that there is a higher need out there, and that we do need to address the needs of those communities, and to make sure that all of that we're reaching out to everyone we possibly can. We're not opposed to continuing this work or to bringing in more contractors in the future if budget allows, and if we're able to do that. We absolutely want to see those things happen. It is our goal at Marion County to reach as much of the community as we possibly can.
All right, so my follow-up is on data collection, getting back to data collection, which is, so these providers will submit reports to the county, and the county then synthesizes those reports and then submits them to OHA?
Yes.
And that'll be utilizing the kind of current OHA reporting templates, or does the county have its own way of reporting separately its services to OHA?
We are currently doing them via the templates that are available through OHA. If OHA would like us to submit that information in a different format, we would be open to discussion about that. But as of right now, we were planning to collect that data. Obviously, we would have reports of where each set of data came from, but combining that to the data for report to OHA.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm really interested in kind of how data is being collected and reported going forward. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Henry.
Yeah, I just want to express my gratitude to the folks from the county mental health department for being here and talking with us, and the questions from my fellow council members. I really appreciate the discussion. I'm curious if it's appropriate. Ron had mentioned that there's a subcontract. We're subcontracting with a provider that didn't have a previous relationship or agreement with OHA, and I'm not sure if it's appropriate to discuss, identify which provider that is. I'd be curious about that. Also, I'm wondering, in the discussion around providing these, providing folks that can do outreach, if that generates more referrals, how many folks does the county have that are, qualified to provide mental health services to kind of absorb those potential new referrals? How many of those folks are bilingual or speak another language other than English, or have some type of cultural background that can support folks that are seeking referrals? That would be my second question. And then also, I really appreciate the utilization of community health workers. I know that I work with folks, CHWs here in the Hood River and Wasco County region that really have a strong historical connection specifically to the Latino or Hispanic community. And I think those are really wonderful folks that want to do good work to help get people that need specifically substance use disorder services to the right folks. I also think that many of those folks in this area are also requesting to become certified and trained as CADCs or QMHPs or QMHAs. So, maybe we could look at how to provide those folks more credentialing to do the work as well. Just an aside. Thank you.
Sorry, can you repeat the questions that you wanted me to answer? I do apologize. I was listening to you and then I just lost the questions.
No, that's okay. I kind of ramble on sometimes. So this was more of a question to maybe OHA or to the committee around which provider, if it's appropriate to identify which provider did not have that we're asking to subcontract with, did not have a previous relationship with OHA per Ron's statement. And then
Henry, I'm gonna jump in so we answer them one at a time, if that's okay. Because I think it is easy for us just to lose the thread a little bit. And I can answer that one. So all of these proposed providers in the presentation aren't providers that the OAC had previously approved. So we're talking about all of them.
Yeah, I understand that. I think beyond that, Ron had mentioned that there are some providers that didn't have a previous relationship with OHA, and some, or
No, I was specifically referring to the organizations that were not awarded funds by the OAC.
Okay, got it.
Not previously approved by the OAC to receive funds.
Okay, thanks, Ron, for the clarification. The second question, then maybe more directly to Leanna, is around how many certified folks you have to provide substance use disorder or mental health services for these potential referrals.
We're a part of our burn contract is to hire additional staff, and so we've been hiring like crazy, and so we're definitely upping our staff to be able to work with people and meet those needs. And we do have a clinic in Woodburn. We do have bilingual staff, and as we know, Woodburn has a high Latinx population, and so we have a lot of bilingual staff and services over there to help with that community. We also have bilingual staff here. We are trying to hire as many bilingual staff members as we can, and trying to touch upon different cultures where we can. It's a rough hiring market right now. I think people are aware of that. But we've seen some good candidates, and we're really looking to make sure that we're addressing the needs of our broader community, which does mean making sure that we have bilingual staff or have staff of color or have LGBTQIA2+ members on our staff, so that people are comfortable with who they're working with.
Yeah, thank you, Leanna. And then I think that would go to my last comment or question around utilizing, kind of build out what you have already, and potentially utilizing staff like CHWs who are already in, have those that social capital within the community, within the Latin community, to help potentially provide them more training to be able to do those services. So if you have a CHW that could also train as a CADC.
Yeah, and we have a history of doing that. We do move people up from within. We already have a Spanish and a Russian bilingual bicultural counselors on staff. And as we have a lot of people who come in as certified recovery mentors, who then move on to get those QMHA trainings and the CADC trainings and keep moving up in their careers and be able to continue to work within their communities with their own valuable knowledge and skills.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so Onisha is next, and then I have Keisha and Ron put their hands up as well after.
Was about the worker types. When we created policy, we were really specific about the community health worker versus certified recovery mentor in the worker type of all of the language of our policy. And in that slide that you guys took down, it said something about community health workers.
Yes, we have certified recovery mentors here that we have 7 that we have within just for the burn, not including our other services that are paid for through different funding. So 7 certified recovery mentors that are working within the burn program. The CHWs are intended to be resource navigators for people in communities that outlay the traditional communities, the people that we're already not reaching. And so some of the agencies are hiring CHWs in order to get those resources and get them out, but it does not impact our peer supports that we have here. And then within some of those contracts, like Church at the Park, they have peer supports as well. They have one at each of their micro shelter locations, and they go out into the parks and the different areas where the houseless population lives and work with people and help support them to get them into services as well. So there is a mix there.
Thank you so much for taking the time to answer our questions. I think you touched on it a little bit about the culturally and linguistic services.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the percent of actually culturally specific people that you have, the diversity in your organization?
I don't have the numbers. I came into Marion County a few months ago, so I'm a little bit, I apologize if I don't know all of our exact percentages. I do, in Marion County is huge, so I'm familiar with our offices. I'm very familiar with the burn grant. I've been working with it before my time here with Marion County. But I, unfortunately, with as large as Marion County is, don't have all of those numbers. I do know that we have bilingual staff in all of our burn programs, and that's part of the hiring process within this program. I could get those numbers for you, but I don't have them with me today, unfortunately.
I guess my question was, do you have formal intentions to hire diversity to support the community?
Yes, absolutely. We have specific bilingual positions that we're hiring for. We are attempting to hire a bilingual employment specialist, as well as, like I said, we do already have some bilingual bicultural counselors on staff. And so we are continuing to look to do that. And that's not just to target only the Latinx community. We would like to target the communities that we can. We know we have an increase in people who speak Hmong and other languages. Obviously, we are looking to hire people to work with the African American community. We have recently in our certified recovery mentor staff, we have a pretty diverse staff there already, including people that are African American, people that are Latinx. So we are attempting to hire and have hired and do have those people on staff for those positions and in the upper positions as well. And like I said earlier to, I believe, Henry's question, we are, training and allowing people to move up within the organization as they gain skills.
Keisha?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just thank you for your array of services that you're providing. I'm just kind of trying to hone in on Measure 110 and what we are directly paying for. And we kind of skimmed over the community health worker question, and it looked like in the slides that in one of your subcontracts you are asking to pay for community health workers. And I'm just wondering, first, is that true? And second, what category would you put them in? Because that's not a service that we fund, or is that coming from another pot of money?
No, so we're not directly hiring community health workers, but with the sub grants, what it is that's the outreach portion of what we're doing. So it's part of our outreach. We have over in the Santiam Canyon, all service providers that provide any kind of drug, alcohol, DUI services have closed down. There are no services toward in rural Marion County right now, which means that we're having to take services out to those communities. And Santiam Hospital, for instance, is filling in that area to try and get services to the communities out there where there used to be some services out there that have all recently closed down. And so now there's no services to those communities. So with Santiam Hospital, that is their, that's how they function. And so their community health workers are part of the outreach to try and make sure that we're getting people into services. So Marion County is not hiring community health workers, but as part of our outreach, that is the title that some of the other sub-grantees do have.
Right. So I guess my more direct question is, through the sub-grantees, is Measure 110 funding going to pay for community health workers?
Measure 110 would be paying for the sub-grants and the work that they're doing through those sub-grants. All of the money that we are asking for those sub-grants is Measure 110.
Right. I'm just a little unclear, because that's not like in the 944 rules, we have specific worker types that we do pay for, and I'm thinking community health worker is not one of them. So I'm just asking that direct question, trying to get to the bottom of that one.
Keisha, if I can jump in, I think maybe Blue asked this in the chat, but I want to make sure I understand the question. Is the question around if OHA says you can or cannot fund community health workers under the Chapter 944 rules? I think the rules are, and feel free to jump in, Allison, if you know better off the top of your head, but the rules don't say anything that funding can't go to community health workers. They're not specifically listed, but they're not prohibited either. So I believe this would fall into the discretion of the OAC making a choice. But Allison, I want to pause to make sure, to see if you have anything else to add.
That sounds correct to me, thanks.
Just to Kristen and Ellison, when we were creating the 944 rules, we had OAC staff there guiding us in how to language and the final outcome document, but the OAC staff was very specific in creating the policy that we wanted people with lived experience to be offering the services of the peer recovery counseling and the outreach services, which is why we specifically chose that language. And we were told through the legal support of OHA staff that was the language on record, and stating why it was very important that we wanted people with lived experience to be in those roles.
Thanks, Sonisha. Yeah, so the Chapter 944 rules do define the types of peers to deliver peer-delivered supports, mentoring, and recovery services. As a peer support specialist, a peer wellness specialist, a certified recovery mentor, or a youth
Right, and we
support
said
specialist.
specifically addiction peer support, not even mental health, but addiction peer support.
Yes, yes, thank you. That's important. However, the rules are silent on whether a community health worker could provide outreach, engagement, kind of other services that could be complementary to peer services, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it was unclear. I think it was straightforward what we wanted. And now it's getting, I'm sorry, and it's probably other hands up, but now we're blurring the lines to be inclusive of everyone, any worker type, when we were pretty specific.
I would like to state that at Marion County, where we're actually providing these services, we are using peer supports and not mental health peer supports. We're using SUD peer supports. We've hired 7, and several of the subcontracts also include peer supports. The rural counties where they don't have the capacity to offer the same type of services, what they need to provide is resource navigation for people, which is what we need up in the canyon, are the areas where it's not directly peer support. But this is not removing the peer supports that we said we would hire, and it's not changing our peer support requirements to a CHW. We will still continue to provide our 7 peer supports per our contract, as well as actually subcontracting a few more peer supports. These contracts are not meant to subvert that or to move away from that. It is simply to get outreach and resource navigation to those communities that otherwise will be missing out on that. And I'm sorry, Keisha made a statement in the chat. No, this would be directly about substance use disorders. So those resource navigators would still be resource navigators for people with substance use disorder. But there is a high need to have people getting those resources and to have those resource navigation people encompassed within the Santiam Canyon and within the hospital to be able to provide those services to people is really important right now. And I do understand your concern, but we're not trying to subvert that at all or to move away from having those peer supports. We understand the need for that. And so I just want to clarify that peer supports is still a huge part of our contract. It's only in outreach that there would be anything that was different. And it's just a really hard to reach area. So
I want to maybe see if Allison has something to address here.
Oh, thanks. I just wanted to offer if there's questions about the council's rules and just making sure that the rule language lines up with the council's intent, we can definitely take a look at that. We'll probably need to have a side conversation just to make sure that everything looks as intended. But I just wanted to make a note of that, and y'all can let me know if that's something that you want to have done.
Thanks, Allison. So Ron is next, and then Henry and Onisha after that.
So a couple questions and then a comment. So what would be the difficulty for the entity providing the outreach using community health workers to replace those workers with addiction peer wellness or specialists? Would that is that something that could happen?
I think that maybe it could happen. It would have to be a discussion with those subcontractees. The place that I'm most concerned with, that change would be within the Santiam Hospital, because as you know, within a hospital system, they have certain types of employees that they hire. There's certain positions that exist, and it can be very difficult to change the label for those positions. And so there is some concern there because, like I said, those areas do not have any services out there. And what they're trying to do is to create, yes, they do have peers in hospitals, but I'm speaking directly to the relationship with Santiam Hospital and what they're trying to do within this subcontract. They you know, what they're trying to do is have that resource navigation. They're not necessarily providing, we're providing the peer support. So anybody who's having contact is still going to have contact with our peer supports. They're still going to be referred to the burn partners. So what they would be doing is getting people into those services with the burn partners, making sure that they could access those services. We could perhaps discuss the change of who's doing those services, but the majority of people already have peers doing those services. The ability to have those peer services within the hospital with what they're trying to accomplish is just, it's just a little bit fuzzy, especially since, like I said, they have labeled positions within the hospital. I don't know if I answered your question effectively, Ron.
Well, I mean, it would just, it clearly would increase the comfort level of the members of the council where they to be addiction peer wellness specialists, and that would significantly improve the kind of mood of the council or wish of the council. Second, I guess I wanted to move back to the kind of conversation regarding, and I was going to ask Allison that regarding the statute, and does the statute allow the council to fund entities that were not previously approved in the by the council in the award making process? I am aware that in the Senate Bill 755, it discusses if an applicant, section E under 2, subsection E says if an applicant for a grant or funding under the subsection is unable to provide all the services described in paragraph D, which are all the services, the applicant may identify how the applicant intends to partner with other entities to provide these services. An Oregon Health Authority and the council may facilitate collaboration among applicants, it says. And then in section 5, it says the council shall require any government entity that applies for a grant to specify in the application details regarding sub-grantees and how the government entity will fund culturally specific organizations and culturally specific services. I think you've done that. And then it goes on to talk about supplanting, but my question for Allison is that, do those sections give us the, grant us the power to approve this request? If so, voted.
So I'm looking at the provision that you quoted, and I'll take a quick look at it while we're on the line. But could you state again what section you're looking at? I have the statute open right now. Oh, you're muted.
So section 2, which is section 2A, the Oversight and Accountability Council, and then you go all the way down to, then there's A, which describes screening, B, culturally comprehensive assessment, intervention planning, ongoing assessments, and then E, outreach, and then well, capital E, and then small e under H, if a grant applicant or funding under the subsection is unable to provide these services. And then all the way down to section 5, which the council may require any government entity that applies for a grant to specify in the application details regarding sub-grantees. And I'm just wondering if that standard has been met according to statute.
Thanks. I'll take a look at this. If you want to continue the discussion, I don't want to hold it up, and then we can come back to it.
But yeah. But if it was specified in the application that they would be subgranting, I think that might meet the standard.
And I would just like to confirm that Marion County did specify in their application and in their application budget that they intended to subcontract.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chris.
Oh,
Do
sorry.
you have anything else, Allison?
Sure, yeah, I was just taking a look at this to double check things. Yeah, so I'm not aware of anything that would prohibit or require the council to limit subcontractor approval of subcontractors to ones that have previously applied or been approved.
Thank you, Allison.
Okay, and then Henry is up next.
Yeah, I just want to express my appreciation for the conversation, and I understand my fellow council members' concern about making sure that we are utilizing individuals with lived experience to help provide access to these services. I think that when we're having a discussion around community health workers, I think we may be making a big assumption that those folks, because they're certified as CHWs as opposed to CRMs, for example, that these individuals do not have lived experience. And I think that would be an erroneous assumption. Having taught these folks, in the area, providing continuing education for folks who have this certification, I can tell you that I've met many of them in the community that have lived experience, whether it's their family member that suffered from a substance use disorder, or they themselves who are in recovery. So I think it's important that we remember that there are a lot of folks who are called to become helpers and work in the helping profession that are not specifically certified as a peer support specialist. I also think it's really important to remember, and I'm not a historian when it comes to which certification was provided first. I do believe, however, that certified or community health workers as a certification was available before peer support specialists, and specifically CRMs, so that some of these folks who wanted to help their community got that certification to do so. I can also tell you that the history of migrant health clinics in Oregon utilized these workers as a means for outreach. So if we were to somehow suggest that they weren't able to do the work and then not provide this funding, we would be cutting off a historical support for that community. Having worked in La Clínica del Valle in Southern Oregon, which is a migrant health worker clinic, as a patient advocate, I've worked alongside these folks and can tell you they are a wonderful asset to the community. So I would just strongly advocate to support the continued work that they're doing, and believe that it is in the spirit of the work that we would like to support. To one of my colleagues, what they mentioned as well, I think it was Blue, around the fact that there are a lack of peers within Oregon. I think we need to utilize the services and supports we have within the communities that are already there and build out those supports in order to make this functional and effective. So I really appreciate the conversation. I want to support this work, and thank you everyone for your concern.
Thank you, Henry. So I have Onisha, and then Keisha is after that.
A little, what the word is. So when we started the OAC Council almost 2 years ago, one of the things we were tasked with, we were broken down into a subcommittee to create these rules. And I understand the people's context that have been spoken about community health worker types, which is why it's so important that a lot of us on the screen right now have lived experience and have chosen to get involved in policy work, because policy can be tricky. If you agree to approve a community health worker type, it is possible health worker does also have lived experience. It is also possible that if you are not specific with the worker type, that that community health worker does not have lived experience and they do not serve that community well, exposed to it, because they don't need the quals to get a community health worker type position, which we go back to 2 years ago and when the subcommittee was built and why we were tasked to create the 944 rules. We took a great deal of time talking with the legal team, talking with OHA staff, some of those OHA staff members, who are not currently here anymore. We have new people here like Kristen and Allison who are talking to us about it now. And I feel like we're pushed and loosely, like although you said that on the subcommittee, although you were very specific in asking that people have lived experience, although you poured your heart out on YouTube to all the people in Oregon and talked about your lived experience, although you wrote essays about your lived experience to be an OAC council member, none of that makes sense because right now we feel like people without lived experience can do the job just as well as you. Or maybe if we create policy or create this rule, we can hire community health workers who even may have lived experience. And that's the tricky part of policy, when you don't dial in and say exactly what you would like to see happen. And I feel like a long time ago when we made the 944 rules, we were very specific for real reasons about why we wanted it to happen. Because this community, people who are using drugs and they need outreach work, they live on the streets, they're probably involved in different kinds of crimes, maybe sex work, maybe they are scary to some people. They deserve somebody who has that same experience, who can tap into what it has felt like to live on the streets. And that was the reason why we made these decisions. And now because we want to approve an organization, and I'm not saying we don't approve them, I'm not saying I have a problem. Some people want to approve, we're taking everything we decided and we're loosely arguing why it wasn't so important. And once again, we're saying, well, you made that decision as OAC council, but here's the loophole we can get through about why what you said back then isn't that important. Very differently than what we made other organizations go through to get approved. And Ron said that several times, like this, he said that at the very beginning when we first started talking about it, and nobody has even addressed that. But Allison said she'll look it up and get back to us.
I absolutely agree with you that people deserve to have the people that understand them the most doing this work. We are sending up certified recovery mentors in our wellness van to work with these same clients. We are not leaving them out of access to certified recovery mentors, and we're not leaving them out of access to peer supports who truly understand and who truly have the lived experience. I think most of us who do this work have some type of experience with this, whether it be our own personal substance use disorder or loss of a member of our own family, or all of the many ways that this impacts us. And in no way are we trying to subvert that or to keep anyone from that. So I understand your concern. I completely do. I think you're right, but I do want to make it clear that we're not trying to make it so that those people would not have the same access as everyone else. We are up there. We are sending our certified recovery mentors up there. We are outreaching to people, but we don't want people falling through the cracks. And that is what our subgrants are to keep people from falling through the cracks. We want to make sure that we're reaching as many people as we can, and we want to provide them with the true services that they deserve and with people that understand. And throughout our agency, we have people who have experienced substance use disorder, and that's not just in our CRM positions, it goes all the way up to our supervisory positions, and even almost every individual here has been impacted by substance use disorder in some way. So we're definitely in line with that level of thinking. We want the same thing, and I understand your concern. I truly do.
And Keisha is next.
Yeah, so I want to get directly to the point. We're getting a little loose here around what our intent is as the OAC, and to really make sure that happens. And you can be a community health worker and a peer support specialist and a peer wellness. I'm certified as all because I work in every lane. Just not saying that a community, probably everybody in the world has been impacted by somebody or addiction. That's not the point. The point is that you went through a training to serve this specific population, so you're not doing no further harm. So you can be a community health worker and a peer support specialist. You can have triple certifications. That's the point we're trying to get back to. Just being a community health, I am a trainer for community health workers. I'm a trainer for peers. And I know in the community health worker curriculum, there's not enough training to really address the issue of addiction. They breeze over it, you get a little snippet, and that's it. So back to the people who are out here dying and suffering, we really want them to have access to the folks who this is their passion, this is their experience, and this is what they're certified in.
Thank you, Keisha. So I put some things in the chat, just that Burns must have at least one person who is a CADC, who is a case manager. It does not specify credentials for a case manager. It does specify the types of peer support or certified recovery mentor that is specific to drug use versus some of the other categories. But the only thing I can see, and maybe if Allison has anything to add, is that when we are talking about peer delivered supports, that column of peer support, those peers do need to specifically be certified related to substance use or certified recovery mentors, but that it is all specific to drug use, but it doesn't, I can't find anything in the 944 rules around an outreach worker or some, again, like case manager. There are a lot of other positions that we hire. Like, not everybody in housing is going to be certified as a peer, but people who are funded as a peer should be certified in the proper type of peer support. And I'm not seeing anything that we have in the rules, and maybe we want to talk about revising them. And Leanna got brought into this bigger discussion that maybe that's something the council wants to do, but I am trying to look and see what we have, in there, and it doesn't look like for something like doing outreach, unless they're doing outreach as a funded peer, that a community health worker is excluded from doing that work. And I see Keisha's hand up, and then maybe after that we can see if we can go to a vote.
And was still just up, but I just want to ask one quick question, because it seems like the rules and the 944 is being loosely interpreted, but I just want to ask the question that doesn't necessarily have to be answered. But if those who need harm reduction outreach work, they're living on the streets because their use has brought them here, that they need our services, which is what I do, why would we not want peers there? Why would we want only peers in like Miracles Club, where people can walk in, they can roll up in their cars and get services? Why wouldn't we want peers with the biggest hearts out there to serve our most vulnerable? And this is the part that's frustrating for me, because it seems like our intention and this language is being interpreted as people see fit, to fit the outcome that they want.
I would like to address that slightly. As far as anyone in our subcontracts that are working with our houseless communities and those, they are peer supports that are going out and doing that work. It's within those stable organizations that aren't necessarily mobile that they're hiring the CHWs. And that is to do the resource navigation, but all of our peer supports are peer supports, and all of our outreach workers that are going out into camps and going out into the communities are peer supports. And we are continuing to hold up to the number of peer supports. All of our peer support money is still going towards peer support. And this will just add to our peer support on top of what we already promised to do. So we have several peer supports coming in with this contract. It's only a few locations where they're stagnant. They're within the hospital, people coming in with emergencies and illnesses, where that resource navigation is being. And like I said, on top of that, we are sending our wellness van out there to meet with those people. And we do have peer supports within the wellness van. So for our contract specifically, I don't think we're subverting that at all, or that we are lessening the amount of peer support that people are getting or that they deserve.
That was quite a robust discussion. It looks like maybe we can get ready to call for conflicts of interest. I don't know if we've done that yet. I think that might be.
Do we want our guests here for the vote, or is that a thing?
I mean, I think that's up to you all. They're gonna see it either way on YouTube, so doesn't really matter.
Keisha, I do see your hand up.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Do we have to approve every subcontract one by one, or we can only do it all or none? Like, can we approve some of the subcontracts that are in alignment and not others, or how can that work?
Can we make someone answer that, and then I'll ask my question.
I think that can work however you all want to make a motion. We have a suggested motion that is all of them, and that can be amended to whatever you want. It's your vote.
If we cut it down like that, is the money cut down like that though? Or do you guys decide that?
So my question would be regarding amending the motion to approve the contract pending certification of peer wellness specialists to do the work for the Santiam Hospital. Something like that. Is that something Leanna would be open to?
It looks like you're on mute, Leanna.
I don't know what that would look like, and I would have to go back to my board and my staff to see what that would look like as far as amending that language in that specific contract.
It would just be the worker type.
Yeah.
And we could table that particular one if we wanted, and vote on the rest. If you can break it out however you like.
I would like to say that I think that the service, when reviewing these contracts, I think that the service that they're offering to the community is really valuable, especially in that area. I understand that policy says we need to table it. I do understand that. But we were quite deliberate with understanding the needs of the community. And so I do want to say that. And like I said, it's an additional resource. It's not an instead of resource.
Yes, I'm sure you can understand the challenge the council has in terms of developing its rules.
Mm-hmm.
And this being outside the rules that the council developed. And so we're trying to be flexible in how we're responding to you, but the way that we move forward is based on kind of rules that we set up that we thought were in the best interest of the populations being served and best interest in terms of consistency of service delivery with the focus on SUD services. So we've got more hands now.
Ron, sorry to jump in. I just want to clarify kind of what I've heard throughout this really, really good conversation is that there might be a bigger conversation that has to be around the rules to kind of clarify your all's intent. And so we can have that conversation with the chairs and back in this group in a broader setting. Because what I'm hearing is that, you know, if there is any ambiguity or confusion over what your intent is, that might be, you know, an item for future discussion across the council. So I just want to be clear that I don't know if we're exactly asking you to not follow any rules, but that it might be, you know, we're not doing that.
No, I'm not asking, yeah,
But
that's
that,
not
you
what
know,
I'm saying.
Saying
It's a place, there's a place in the rules that this is rubbing up against
Yep.
that we need to, that in order to vote, we have to amend the motion regarding the Sandy Am Hospital staffing proposal. So that's kind of where we're at.
So I also just want to, I guess, check in. We've got two other presenters plus OHA updates on the agenda for today. And I'm not sure if maybe this is something that we need to table or not, but it kind of feels like at least some of us are understanding the rules differently, and maybe to get some clarity around whether or not what is being proposed is in line with the current rules or not, even if maybe the current rules aren't as specific as they were intended by some of the council members. But Ron's got a hand up, Keisha's got a hand up, Sabrina's got a hand up. So I will let you all speak. I'm just asking folks to be mindful of time and what might be the best solution to keep our meeting moving forward today.
I'm taking my hand down.
Thanks, Ron. So Keisha and then Sabrina.
Yeah, just real quick. Yeah, I'm up for like maybe tabling the last one. And I appreciate all the services that are being provided. We just aren't the end all be all to fund all the services. So maybe I'm getting another subcontract or tabling that. And we've been on this for years, and our intent is our intent. There's no wavering, you know, there's no open ground. I'm keeping it short. And so that's just my only issue. It's our responsibility to be accountable to these communities that we're serving to get them the appropriate worker types.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in and say I agree. I think that we should table it per Ron's last request of possibly having Santy Am come in agreement. I can't remember exactly what Ron's words were, but I also want to commend you, Leanna. You came in and handled yourself like a champ and answered every question and knew what you were talking about. And so I'm definitely interested in tabling it. That was a lot of conversation. You did a really good job. And so that's where I'm at right now. I'm not ready to vote. I'm ready to table it. And if I need to put a motion on the table, I will. I'm going to put a motion on the table right now. Actually, Ron, I need your words that you use. So can you put the motion on the table, please? With what we're looking for the Santy Am, if they can certify their people as such and such, please.
Well, my motion would have been to approve the subcontracts with that. That was my motion, to approve the subcontracts, omitting Sandy Am Hospital was going to be my motion, and allow Sandy Am Hospital then to provide us information regarding certification of their staff as peer wellness specialists.
And that's something I could second, or we could table it. So I'll leave it at that. That was my opinion. Thank you.
I think that's what somebody said earlier, and Kristen's part of it, that we could break it down so they could have some money to get moving, and those things that we were in question of, give them room to back up to the speed of our expectations in under Rule 944 and approve it all at a later date, or just approve these portions.
So Do people understand the motion?
I think so, and it just is, if Allison is still on, is that I don't know if the right term is not legal, but like, can we make a motion like that? Is that like a valid motion so that we could potentially move forward some of these funds?
So if I'm following this correctly, the question is whether the council can approve some, but not all, or actually all but one.
Yes.
Yeah, there isn't anything that would prohibit that.
Okay, Keisha, is your hand up from earlier, or did you have something?
No,
to
my
add?
hand's not up. Sorry.
Perfect, then, Sydney, I think we are ready to vote. And I also just kind of had a thought, I think maybe moving forward, we are supposed to check with the conflict before we have discussion, because I don't think folks can participate in the discussion if they have a conflict. But I'm
Yep.
not positive, but let's just make sure there's call for conflicts one more time. Okay,
Did someone second that motion?
I did.
Okay, thank you, Sabrina. So are there any conflicts of interest to declare for Marion County Health and Human Services, San Am Hospital, Poder, Catholic Community Services, Soaring Heights Recovery Homes, or Church of the Park? All right, hearing none.
is there any further discussion? I think I saw Henry's question, so I just wanted to jump in.
So that motion on that slide isn't correct. It doesn't match up with the motion that Ron just made to approve the subcontracting pending the certification of workers at Santiam Hospital. So I guess omitting Santiam Hospital for now.
Yeah, and these are, like I said, the old slides that just kind of bundled them together, but anyone you can vote on Ron's motion from earlier, and we can take these down and maybe edit them real quick. Ron's motion is in the chat.
Okay, so just restating, oh, Henry, see your hand up.
Yeah, I just feel like I need to say this before we vote. My concern is that we are misinterpreting or providing our own value to the 944 rules. Sounds like there's no requirement for a case manager. And my concern is if we exclude community health workers, we're going to exclude the individuals who had the cultural and linguistic experience to provide services to this community, which needs services and has been under supported in Oregon for a long time. My grandparents are migrants, and I think we should support migrants, and that includes supporting the folks that have the lived experience to work with these communities. So I'm concerned about excluding those folks. Thank you.
Got some more folks with their hands up, and I just want to ask folks, or just remind them that we do have some other things to try to get to on the agenda today. So if maybe just keep things brief, if you can, that would be helpful. There's Caroline, Amy, and then Carlos.
I can just type mine out. It'll be easier to type it out.
So am I next?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
I think this is my opinion, but I think we're back to micromanaging. I think it's up to Marion County to make those decisions. And if everything was 100% for every burn, we talk about that some of this is brand new. It's a startup. There is time to get credentials. I don't want to hold up the process. We're already going to be probably a topic with the legislature because of holding up things. And I think we need to put some trust into Marion County and let them do what they need to do. If they're not 100% and they're 99% or 90% with everything else, I don't think we should delay anything. I think we're micromanaging again, and that's my opinion.
Thank you, Caroline and Amy.
I agree with Caroline, like what she said. I do want to say that, I'll give an example. It's quick and short. My son went to a peer training for addiction peer training, peer support specialist, right? He went in there, and because he is not an addict himself, but grew up in an addict household, and that's how he has his live experience, he had to go in and get traditional healthcare worker or help, and that's how he had to be certified. So it wasn't that he didn't have the lived experience and experience with addiction, households and people in addiction. It's just that his title had to be different because of the way the state certifies them. So it doesn't mean that they can't be working in that aspect. I don't know why we're hung up on such a code. It's kind of ridiculous, guys. And I think Caroline's right. We're micromanaging, and we need to let these burn centers get up and running.
Okay, so I think we're ready to take a vote, and if someone from OHA could just make a note that it sounds like the council would further like to discuss some of these areas that are maybe not as clear as they would like them to be, but I think that's a bigger conversation for another day.
We can
would like to-
definitely do that, Blue.
Based on the most recent comments, I was wondering, was there another motion being offered?
Can we do that when a motion's still on the table, Ron? Because I'm moving more and more towards tabling it.
I never had that training, so I don't know that answer either.
Okay, just because I'm just making sure there's not another motion to be considered.
I would like to make the motion to the original motion without excluding or delaying it. So the original motion that was put on the screen is the motion that I would like to support. If we put a second motion and exclude until San Am Hospital gets into compliance, then I'm not going to be in favor. So I'm just letting you know in advance. I want to go with the original motion.
And I approve, I second Caroline's motion. Which motion do we vote on? Because now there's two on the table.
So I will retract my motion, and we can take a vote on Caroline's motion.
Thank
Hey,
you,
Carly,
Ron.
can you put that motion up again? I'm not sure everyone read it since we took it down.
And that would be the original one.
Okay. So I know we're a little out of order here, but this is the motion that Caroline put forth and was seconded by Amy. Just have to ask out of decorum, is there any further discussion before we take the vote? Okay. So the motion to approve the subcontract between Marion County and the organizations listed on the slides for the purposes of providing culturally, linguistically specific services in the Marion County burn. Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Amy. Blue?
Yes.
Thank you. Carlos?
Yes.
Thank you, Carlos. Let's see. Caroline?
Yes.
Thank you. Dharma was not here at my last check. Dharma, did you arrive? I don't think so. Henry?
Yes.
Thank you. Hubert, I don't think has arrived either. Hubert, are you there? Okay. Jackie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Keisha?
No.
Thank you. Leticia?
Yes.
Thank you. Melinda?
I abstain due to coming in late.
Okay. Thanks, Melinda. Morgan,
Yes.
thank you. Nicole,
I vote yes.
thank you. Onisha,
Yes.
Onisha, was that a yes? Sorry, I just heard the very end. Okay, Ron,
Yes.
thank you. Sabrina,
Yes.
thank you. Zeb,
Yes.
thanks, Zeb. That passes with 13 yes, 1 no, and 1 abstention.
Thank
Did
you.
Jackie vote? I didn't
Yes, she
hear.
did.
She did?
I
Okay.
did.
Well, good. Thank you, Jackie.
Welcome.
So I do just want to check in maybe with Kristen. I don't know if they're, I don't know that we're gonna have time for all of these remaining agenda items. I know the folks from government relations and from the clearinghouse are here to speak, so I don't know what people's schedules are like, but Kristen, is there, Ron, did you wanna?
Our guests are still here. Are we?
Yes, I just wanted to thank you all and thank you for the discussion. And I hope we could address some of your concerns, and I'll let you guys get on with your meeting. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
And just in terms of the agenda, was there going to be discussion regarding the Secretary of State's audit?
I didn't see it, but I have a lot of thoughts and feelings, and I would love for us to be able to discuss it at some point in a public forum.
Okay, because I for some reason thought it would possibly be on this agenda because it just happened. It was just released, and there's some information in there that really needs to be addressed by the OHA regarding specifically the quote in their report. During the initial implementation of Measure 110, OHA awarded $33 million in access to care grants. Little to no data was collected by OHA for these awards, and auditors were unable to determine the effectiveness of the access to care grants. And that was in the report. And my question is, because we saw data, we were provided data, data was collected, data was made available. I'm looking to find out if there's a plan to respond to the Secretary of State's office through the OHA media or leadership saying that what they put in the report was incorrect. And it would be great if there was a plan to correct the record, because we've seen data presented to us, more than 16,000 people who received services from the access to care grants and those types of those services that went out. I'm just would like to know if there's a plan to respond and, engage in any kind of media communications to correct the record. And I know that's not on the agenda, but I just want to get that on the record.
Yes, and I would just love to have that added to to the next council meeting if possible, because I had some big concerns around that, including the fact that the OAC did not have any sort of voice in the audit or the response. So, and I think we could probably take up the rest of the meeting time discussing that and then some. So Ron, is it okay if we try to address that in the next OAC meeting?
Well, that's 2 weeks from now, but maybe we could have some other kind of meeting, schedule another meeting of the council with notification and everything specifically to discuss this, because it needs to be discussed. It's urgent. It's having a significant impact on attitudes and perceptions, specifically in the legislature and among folks who are trying to take down the work that we're doing. And it's urgent, it's important, and it's critical that OHA, the OAC, get on this as soon as possible.
I absolutely agree. So yeah, I think if we could see if we could schedule a meeting for next Wednesday or I don't know if we can do other days. I don't know what the rules are, but yeah, I would also love to
Well, we can leave it up to staff to attempt to schedule a meeting between.
Okay, but I would
And-
love
and-
to see it addressed sooner rather than later as well.
We can take that back and see what we can do in terms of an additional session. Noted. Yep.
Thank you so much. Ron, is your hand just still up or was there any? Are we good? Okay, thank you. So with that said, we've got 24 minutes. And I really don't know the urgency of the legislative update, if there is an urgency. I also know that the folks from the clearinghouse have set aside time to talk to us about that today. So I feel like I need I need some guidance on just what would be since I don't know what is in that legislative update. I don't know what direction we should go.
Blue.
Sure.
First of all, my introduction. My name is Kazim Zaidi. I go by Kaz. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm on the government relations team. I cover the behavioral health portfolio. I think in view of the fact that we are short of time, it does make sense to defer the legislative update for another time. But there is one pressing matter, one time-sensitive matter. I have been asked to pass on an invitation from Representative Rob Nose, who is the chair of the Behavioral Health and Healthcare Committee. He's putting together a work group. And before I say this, I appreciate this will be a very big ask for anyone who might be interested in attending. It is in person in Salem, and the first meeting is tomorrow morning. So I appreciate that it comes late. And that is a very big ask, but I would like to pass that invitation on. The intent is to meet a few times. Representative Nose wants to be guided by the group as they come together as to how many times he meets, and would like to do a couple of meetings, check the temperature, see how folks are doing, how they're feeling. So I wanted to make you all aware of that so that you do have the opportunity should you wish to participate. I'm suspecting that tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock is going to be too big of an ask, but maybe subsequent meetings you may be able to attend. He's asked for up to 3 members of this group, should you be interested to come along. And Kristen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that you will be eligible for mileage and a stipend should you choose to attend. So that was the only item that was really pressing, and I will leave it at that, unless anyone has any questions on the specifics of that point.
I see Ron's hand up, and Caroline is after Ron.
No, I was just noticing that I was just gonna ask about the specifics, like how many people, location, and but I would definitely like to, if the council agrees, represent the council as one of the members of that work group. As you know, I participated in the previous work group during the Senate Bill 755 discussions, and I was really, and when I learned of this, I immediately was interested in pursuing it as an opportunity to provide a clear, consistent, coherent, positive voice for Measure 110 and the council, with your permission.
And do you think you'll be able to attend in Salem tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, or do you think you would?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
Perfect. Well, I will reach out to you through Kristen to give you more details.
I just want to mention really quickly that we were told to email our interest. I know we can stay out our interest to see.
Sorry, Onisha, you cut out a little bit, but yeah, we emailed all of this information to the council last night to kind of preview it. So I think now is your opportunity to put yourself forward I think we have that information, but I believe there were a few more folks interested than positions. So I think we are going to leave it to you to decide who amongst you can best represent the council and who wants to take on this responsibility. So I think this is that space now.
Ron, is your hand still up or did you have something else?
I was just seeing that, looking for the email. I didn't get the email.
We'll make sure we resend the information.
Okay, and then I see Caroline, Onisha, Sabrina, and Keisha. So Caroline, go ahead.
So thank you, Ron, for being able to be there. Unfortunately, I mean, I almost need two weeks to a month advance notice. And so those who are closer, I think, to Salem, it would be nice if they can attend, but I just want to make sure that it's almost impossible for some of us, even though we want to be involved, but there's no way I could just get up and go because that's, my role. But other folks can't just get up and go. They need time. And even if they're going to get reimbursed, they need time. And so I thank you for the invite, but thank you, Ron, for volunteering. And I hope other folks who might be close by can do that. But I know all of us got very busy schedules. But thanks for the invite. And thank you, Ron, for volunteering.
Onisha?
I want to go to it. And it looks like we're probably going to have a vote because Melinda also stated in the chat that she also is interested in going as well.
Sabrina?
Yeah, I was just going to see who's all interested in. I was wondering if we're just going to have to do a vote. Obviously, I'm not going to go, so I support anybody that can go, but I know there's going to be many interested parties in attending, so.
I think Onisha should go for sure.
Keisha?
The big mouth.
Yeah, I already stated my interest in going. I've been involved with legislation policy for many years, and I would really love to go and represent the council. And I think among the tri-chairs, I think I was the one interested or that can make it.
I support Ron, Keisha and Melinda and Ron if they want to go, and I'll take myself out of the running.
Okay, so I would just like to say for myself, I don't know a whole lot about the legislation, but I'm willing to learn and I'm very passionate about this work and I will stand up for what's right and for us and let them know what I think, period.
And so everyone knows that it's every Thursday at 8 in the morning.
Absolutely. I read the email.
Melinda, Keisha, and Ron. Let's go. Team OAC.
So I just wanted to check with OHA that since this is, from what I've been told, 5 to 6 month commitment, that if folks are not regularly attending, that we can replace them so that we do have representation on a regular basis. That's my main concern.
Yeah, the process hasn't quite been worked out, and I am relaying information. This is Representative Nose's invitation rather than OHA's. I reached out on the basis of what I received back from Kristen in terms of some issues that were raised by the tri-chairs yesterday, and the response that I got was that Representative Nose will see how things go and check in after 2 or 3 meetings. So I think for the moment, I would see it as a commitment of around a month with the potential that the strong likelihood that it will continue after that. but not any certainty on that front. He very much wants this to be led by the folks who are participating, and that will include other legislators. It will include OHA staff. I will be present, although I won't have any kind of speaking role. Folks in the governor's office. And various others. So for the moment, I would see it as a 1-month commitment with the possibility of extension. And as the process becomes more clear, I will be very happy to update those who have been nominated to attend, and indeed this group as a whole.
Thank you. Keisha, did you have something to add?
Yeah, and I'm willing to I'm willing to step away so Onisha can step up if that's possible, and check back in if more seats come available.
You go with Ron and Melinda. I don't mind giving it to you. I was gonna risk the highway to go see Representative Nas, but I'm cool with letting you go. Change it so people can join by Zoom.
Onisha, I appreciate your graciousness and generosity in making this opportunity available. Thank you very much.
And I think you, Melinda, and Keisha will be solid representation of OAC and who we are.
I'm willing to give up my seat.
Oh, Jackie Mercer got a good question in the chat. Do we want is willing to accept talking points from the rest of the council as you go forth as our representatives?
Yes, absolutely. Be interested in your the feedback, and we're the voice. We will be representing the interests in the of the council and what the council wants to put forward. We want to maintain, the legislative briefing was probably going to say that we're kind of in defense mode this session, that there are multiple bills coming after Measure 110 in a variety of ways. And so we need our strongest voices, our strongest positions, and we need to be clear and articulated well. And it's very, very important that we're in the mix down there. And we want to make sure as a team that's going down there that we're representing the interests of the council. We're not getting sideways of what the interests of the council are. We're representing the council and the council's interests.
OHA started email chain for us tonight by this evening.
Yeah, we will make sure that we connect Ron, Keisha, and Melinda with Kaz so that y'all can get the information for tomorrow, and any details, logistics that need to be worked out.
One legislative update I want to put out there is that Representative Maxine Dexter is proposing a number of harm reduction bills that are going to be before the House Behavioral and Health Committee next Monday. And I think it'd be important that we get information out to people regarding that. We just heard about it today. They're asking for testimony regarding supporting harm reduction interventions and services. And she's got kind of a group of bills. So they have a group of bills that they're going to be discussing next Monday, and they're asking for testimony. And it's going to be under the umbrella of House Bill 2395. You won't find anything under that right now. It's kind of a placeholder, but over the next couple of days, you should see information coming forward regarding harm reduction and opiate intervention supports. It's a package.
Thank you, Ron. I see Sabrina's hand up,
Yes, I just wanted to say I appreciate everybody that's stepping up to present and represent us in the work group. And my only request would be if you can please remember that like the trials and the difficulties of providing the work in rural communities. I'm a Native American Latinx woman, and we face racism in a different magnitude than we do across the state. I would think in a little bit of a different magnitude. And so if you guys can just remember that as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sabrina. So I know we've got limited time, and I want to just apologize to the folks that came here intending to present today that clearly are not going to be able to. And I would just like to ask if there are folks, maybe Kristen, unless I'm forgetting something that's super important, just to have a couple minutes to talk about the tri-chair nominations or elections coming up, and then give folks a chance to make a statement if they wanted to self-nominate. Am I forgetting anything else urgent, Kristen?
Nothing else urgent. So we will make sure that we reschedule the legislative presentation and the clearinghouse presentation and talk about potentially adding another meeting. But I will turn it back to you to discuss treasurer nominations.
Okay. So I've been told that at least one person had expressed interest in running for tri-chair, and I don't know who that person is, and I'm hoping if they are here that they can speak to that. Keisha, so I have Keisha and then Onisha's hands up after that.
So real quick, I thought we do all the folks put in their bids on the election day where everybody's able to give their statements and why they want to run. I didn't know we did it out of that framework.
Yeah, Keisha, I think that we decided over the last couple of meetings, from my understanding, that we're just going to have people nominate, and then we're going to build on it then over the next couple of weeks until they actually take their chair or until we vote, is what from my understanding.
Yeah, I know the interest part, but I didn't know like they would like if we're doing it one by one, how can we remember what the last one said if we're not doing it all in unison? But I could be wrong.
So why don't we just use this space at least for folks to express interest if they're interested in running for tri-chair, and then just leave it at that without making any sort of statements at this time.
Well, I expressed interest via email to Jessica Carroll 2 weeks ago following the meeting. And as you all know, this next few months is going to be kind of critical in terms of defending Measure 110 and presenting the best possible case to as many people as possible, specifically the legislature going forward. In the 2021 legislative session, as you know, I was on the work group. I was called to testify multiple times, as was Keisha and Sabrina. In the 22 legislative session, there was another. We went down and we testified a number of times. Being able to provide a clear, consistent, coherent, positive, and strong message with good analysis about what we've done, what we're doing now, what we plan to do is critical in terms of defending and protecting these resources that we fought for. And I think for this particular legislative session and for what we have up against us, I think having a voice, my voice at the table, presenting and speaking with those legislators and representing the council, representing you for the council, I would really appreciate your support and my being another round at tri-chair, particularly because of this legislative session.
Thank you, Ron. Is anybody else interested or considering? Just give space for that. And then I believe the plan was at our next regularly scheduled meeting, which is this on the second, the second Wednesday of next month, having the actual vote on that. So we do have some time before that. Ron, is your hand still up, or did you raise it? I'm not sure. Okay, and I see Caroline's hand.
I support Ron, but I just want to let you guys all know that on February 8th, I have to be in our tribal council meeting. And the new OHA director has been invited, and so he's going to be there too. So I cannot be there. So if you guys get into a crunch and not having a forum, then you would have to text me if I need to vote. But I'm pretty well scheduled from 1 to 4. So that's just for your information. But I support Ron.
Thank you, Caroline. And it looks
Thank
like
you, Caroline.
OHA is making a note that if perfect, if we do need Caroline's vote to text. So thank you for letting us know, Caroline. I just want to check in with Kristen if there's anything that we should maybe just touch on in the last 4 minutes. I know we didn't get to a lot of this, so.
It's okay. We had other conversations instead. And this is your meeting, so that is okay. We'll reschedule these presentations. I think since I have folks for just a few more minutes, I just wanted to let folks know that if you want a phone case for your state issued phone, to reach out to Carly. I think not everyone got them because we didn't have them in stock at the time, but we can definitely get you one if you want that. So please just send Carly an email.
Can we also email that out just for the folks that aren't here?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll send all of these kind of via email. I'm just letting you know what's coming into your inboxes. We were also going to share with you the Measure 110 request for proposals for the Measure 110 statewide hotline. The current contract for the hotline with Lines for Life expires on June 30th of this year. And so we have put out a new request for proposals, and we will send that information to you all along with a little bit of additional context. Just want to give you a heads up. And then finally, we have some preliminary data from the first quarter of the burns from July through September, both expenditure data and some service count data, and we will be packaging that up into a short preliminary report and sharing that with you all and the public as well. So just keep an eye out. I think those are a few updates that I have. So I'll turn it back to you, Lynn.
Thanks, Kristen. And I just want to thank all of you for, really contributing to the conversation and being respectful and, really bringing out conversations that we need to have that are going to be more in depth around some of the 944 rules. I think that's definitely important that we revisit that at some point and make sure that as a council, we are on the same page and we're comfortable with what is in the rules. And Sydney just put in the chat to let OHA know when you're ready to switch to your state email exclusively. So, and maybe we'll do that as a reminder again at the next couple meetings. And Onisha, I see your hand up, so I just want to give you a little bit of space as well.
Off to meet with my kiddos, but somebody said you guys we had to do statements today if we were thinking of running for chair. Is that true? Or can we wait till next time? Okay. All right, that's all. Bye, guys.
All right. Well, everybody have a good rest of your afternoon, and We should be hearing soon about maybe